You know the drill, right? Twice a year, it happens. Spring forward, fall back. We all stumble around, changing the clocks on our ovens and in our cars, complaining about that lost hour of sleep, and then we just kind of move on. It feels like this ancient, unchangeable part of life. But let's really stop and think about this for a second. We are literally moving time. We're all agreeing to pretend it's a different hour than it actually is. So what if the entire reason we started this massive global experiment, what if that reason is just not true anymore? Okay, so the story begins with a really simple, almost obvious idea. Use the daylight we have. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Why pay for artificial light when you've got perfectly good free light from the sun? Now, a lot of people think Ben Franklin invented daylight saving time, but nope, he didn't. Back in 1784, he was living in Paris and wrote this hilarious satirical essay. He joked that Parisians could save a ton of money on candles if they just woke up when the sun did. He even suggested firing cannons at dawn to, help them along. It was a great point about saving energy, but it wasn't about changing the clocks. That idea basically sat on a shelf for more than 100 years. Then in 1907, this English builder named William Willett picked it up and got serious. He was a guy who loved to be outdoors, and it drove him nuts that people slept through these beautiful, bright summer mornings. His big idea was, hey, instead of changing our schedules, why don't we just change the clocks themselves? But a clever idea from an English builder doesn't just become a worldwide policy that affects over 1 billion people. No, for something that big to happen, you usually need a major crisis. And in this case, you needed a few of them. And first, let's just get the biggest myth out of the way. Daylight saving time was never, ever for the farmers. In fact, they absolutely hated the idea. Think about it. Their work is tied to the sun and their animals, not the clock on the wall. Forcing the clock to change just messed everything up for them. So if it wasn't for the farmers, who was it for? The real reason was war. It was all about conserving energy. During World War I, Germany started shifting the clocks to save coal for the war. Pretty soon, everybody else, including the US, jumped on board. The exact same thing happened in World War II. They even called it wartime. And then, wouldn't you know it, it popped up again during the oil crisis in the 70s. You see the pattern here? Every time there's a major crisis, DST is rolled out as this great energy-saving solution. So that leads us to the really big question. We've been doing this for over 100 years now. We've got tons of data. So, does it actually save any energy? Well, to answer that, we have to look at one of the most fascinating real-world studies ever done on the topic. For years, the state of Indiana was a total mess when it came to time, which, believe it or not, created the perfect laboratory to test this whole thing out. So before 2006, Indiana was just a wild patchwork. Some counties did daylight saving time, but most didn't. It was chaos. But then, in 2006, the whole state finally got on the same page and adopted DST everywhere. For researchers, this was a golden opportunity. It was a perfect natural experiment. They could look at years of energy data and compare what happened in the counties that made the switch versus the ones that had been doing it all along. It was the best shot we've ever had at getting a real, clear answer. And the results were a huge shock. I mean, the entire reason for this century-old policy, the thing that it was supposed to do, wasn't just a little bit wrong. It was completely 100% backward. Get this. Instead of saving energy, daylight saving time actually increased how much electricity people used in their homes by about 1%. And that 1% might not sound like a lot, but when you add it all up, it cost the people of Indiana an extra $9 million in electricity bills every single year. So, what on earth happened? Well, the world is a very different place today than it was during World War I. Back then, the main thing was light bulbs, but today, we have heating and air conditioning, and it turns out the tiny bit of money people saved on evening lights was totally canceled out, and then some, by cranking up the heat on those darker, cooler spring mornings and blasting the AC on those hotter, longer summer afternoons. The policy did the exact opposite of what it was designed to do. All right, so if the whole energy-saving argument is totally busted, then why are we still doing this? Well, the debate has completely changed. Today, it's not about coal or oil. It's a battle between our health and our economy. To really get the health side of things, you need to know this phrase, social jet lag. Your body has its own internal clock. It's called a circadian rhythm, and it's naturally synced up with the sun. Daylight saving time basically messes with that. It forces the clock on your wall to be out of sync with the clock inside your body. It's like giving the entire population a mild case of jet lag that never really goes away. And that's a much bigger deal than just feeling a little tired. Scientists have actually linked this social jet lag to some really serious health issues, a higher risk of obesity, heart problems, even depression. It's gotten so serious that major groups like the American Academy of Sleep Medicine have officially come out and said we should get rid of the time change and stick to permanent standard time because it's just better for our biology. So this is the tug of war we're in now. On one side, you have big industries. We're talking retail, golf, tourism, and they love the idea of permanent daylight saving time. Why? Because that extra hour of light in the evening means more time for people to be out shopping, playing golf, or going to theme parks. It's good for business. But on the other side, you've got scientists and doctors saying, whoa, hold on, arguing that we should stick to permanent standard time to keep our clocks aligned with the sun and protect public health. So with all this evidence piling up and these two clear sides forming, you'd think we could just pick one and be done with it. So why are we still stuck changing our clocks twice a year? Well, the answer is a big legislative mess. Here's where it gets kind of weird and complicated. The law that's currently in charge, the Uniform Time Act from 1966, gives states a choice. They can either do the whole spring forward, fall back thing, or they can opt out and stay on permanent standard time. That's the winter time. But what they are not legally allowed to do is switch to permanent daylight saving time, the summertime. There was a bill called the Sunshine Protection Act that would have changed this, but it's totally stalled in Congress. And this has created a really bizarre situation. You have more than a dozen states that have already passed their own laws saying, hey, we want to switch to permanent daylight saving time. But these are all trigger laws. Basically, their hands are tied. The laws can't actually go into effect unless and until the federal government changes the rules. So everybody's just stuck in this weird waiting game. And that leaves us right here. The original reason for all of this, saving energy, is, as we've seen, pretty much a myth in the modern world. The new debate is all about our health versus our wallets. So as we keep going with this 100-year-old experiment, the real question we have to ask ourselves now is, what's more important? Should our clocks be set by the sun or by our shopping habits?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.